Hi students, I wanted to just share with you a few products that are my favorite products to absolutely have in the art classroom. Now, I have out paint, so you can tell I like to paint. Before we get to the paint, let me tell you a couple of tips. Always buy good quality staplers. Try not to let the school secretary force you to buy the really cheap ones because she can save the school money. In the art room, a cheap stapler might last me 3 days. But a more expensive one, and we're not even talking that much more money, $5, $7, $8 more, might last me a whole semester. So when you're hanging artwork and children are using staplers, you go through a lot. So order higher quality ones. They really do work better. Also, I'm always on the lookout for fun products. I love my bell. My elementary school kids do too, especially the girls because it was loaded with rhinestones. I also purchased a big digital clock that I could see from clear across the room with big numbers that said it's 10:37, and I knew class was over at 10:40. It kept time perfectly. Sometimes the clocks on the school wall don't. So you can buy those at discount stores like Walmart or Target for pretty cheap, $15, $18, and you have a nice dependable clock in your room that you can see clear across the room. And now let's talk about this paint. I never buy tempera paint in the big gallon jugs. It's translucent when you use it. It doesn't go on solid, and it just doesn't paint well on paper. The one thing I do use it for is painting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sheets of painted paper and pulling combs through it and drawing plaids and painting spots to let dry to use the painted paper for collages later on. But when my students are actually going to paint, I would never buy the little individual watercolor trays that you probably had as a kid, or you might buy for your kids. They're very cheap, sometimes $1.99, and they might last a day. So this is Pelican watercolor paint. It comes, it has 2 layers. There is a lot of pigment in this paint. A tray like this would last me probably a whole semester with 1,250 students a week coming through the art classroom. I would have 24 sets of this for a class, and if I ordered 24 of these in August, I would still have them in May. Obviously, every project we do isn't watercolor paint, but what I'm trying to say is if I ordered 24 of the little $1.99 or $2.99 watercolor trays like you buy at Walmart or somewhere, it might last me for 1 day teaching art to elementary kids. This one will last me through multiple projects for the whole year. And in the whole grand scheme of things, it doesn't cost that much more, $12, $15, but it lasts the whole year. And it produces a much better color. Probably my favorite paint to use with elementary students is cake tempera. Cake tempera is exactly what it sounds like. It's a cake of tempera paint. It has a little hole in the middle, which is where they start their paintbrush. I tell my students to stir their paintbrush 15 times, and they get a nice, bright, bold, vivid color when they paint on the paper. They dry nice in their trays. These, again, would last the whole year. So these are some tips of mine, products that I think are worth the money. In the long run, you'll save money because you won't be reordering staplers and cheap watercolor paint over and over again. Have fun.